And the name here is Denny, Delta Echo November, November Yankee. I am reporting, and like to get your story. So why don't you kind of give us a rundown on how you got into amateur radio?
Oh, gosh. That's a long story. I mean, that I don't know if my SB220 would hold up for that. But I was a young guy, I guess about 8 or 9, and I met my grandfather for the first time. He came to live with us, and I didn't know it at the time, but my grandfather had been an amateur radio operator before there was ham radio. I mean, he met Marconi. So I guess I get all of my inclinations towards radio and ham radio, amateur radio, legitimately. But I remember he had put all of his stuff away. He no longer was actually operating, and to the fact that I never knew that he was a ham radio operator. The only thing I knew was that he had a storage area down towards this area that he had set up to have a farm, and this farm had a windmill, and underneath the windmill was this glass house, and the glass house was made from window frames, large window frames that he had put together, and it was like maybe a 5-by-5 room made out of these glass window panes, and he had many cardboard boxes inside that little room, and all these boxes were the things that he saved from his amateur radio career, which I didn't know at the time. The only thing I knew was that they were some of the biggest radio tubes that I'd ever seen as a 9-year-old in my life. These things were, like water bottles. They were unbelievable. And, so anytime that he would go into that glass house to look for something, I would make it a point to be right there by his side, kind of like going through a lost treasure chest of stuff. It was just amazing. And he would always find just that right item to give to me, I would take this thing, and it was like a treasure to me, and I would spend weeks and months playing with it, trying to figure out how you put the battery in it. And these were like telephone things, like carbon microphones and earphones and aircraft earphones. Well, I guess aircrafts for that day, they were kind of like clothy things, but they did, have speakers on the earphones. And so he would nourish me, and what he was doing was actually feeding my radio bug, and I had no idea that that's what was happening. But he knew that I was more like him than he was, and so he made it a point to just give to me the things that would nourish my need for radio items to play with. And this went on for 3 or 4 years. And he did pass away, and it was so traumatic that I couldn't even go to his funeral. But he did implant on me, the radio bug for sure. Roger.
Oh, that sounds fascinating. I would imagine that far back you probably were big into AM, right?
Well, now, the thing was, I had this radio bug that had to be fed, and so I was bound and determined that I was going to get me a job in radio. I was summer vacation of school. I was 16. My parents gave me $50, and I got on a Greyhound bus and took off. And my hometown was West Palm Beach, and I took off west. And the only thing there west of West Palm Beach is Lake Okeechobee, and in the middle of the state, and a town called Belle Glade, and right beside that a town called Pahokee. And I went to the Belle Glade. I took the bus to Belle Glade, and went to finally found the radio station there. And I was looking for a job, and they said, well, we don't have any openings right now, but you might check over in Pahokee. They're going through vacations over there, and you might do something over there. Well, the problem was that the bus had already come and gone, and Pahokee was probably about 10 miles or so from from Belglade, and I wound up walking over to the next town and went to the radio station there and said, you got anything open? And they said, well, matter of fact, we do have a guy that's going on vacation, and you could, if you wanted to, you could try it out and see how it went. So the job was sign on in the morning from 6 o'clock till about 10, then take a break and come back at 3 o'clock to sign off on the, at about 7 or dawn, just when it got dark there. It was just a daytime station. It was about maybe 500 water, but the thing was, this was out in Belglade and the Hohoki area, and that's a lot of sugarcane area, and the reason they grow sugarcane out there is because of the muck. I don't know if you know what muck is, but muck is a very dark earth soil, and the conductivity of muck is about 5 times greater than regular sand. So a 500-watt station with muck radios and muck is kind of like about a 10 kW station as far as the transmission signal, Roger.
Oh, that's funny. Very interesting. Well, I can't believe they just bring you in off the spot like that. That's pretty interesting, and you've got quite an illustrious career in broadcasting from then on, didn't you?
Roger, well, the thing was, like after about 9, I had developed my own mixer board. Now, this mixer board was not a real mixer board. It was a mixer board, but it was a Bogen PA amplifier. I don't know if you know what that is, but it was like a Bogen PA 50-watt amplifier, and it had 6 mixers kind of slanted across the top of it. So I was just using more or less the mixers there to, and my mom had gotten me an El Cheapo tape recorder. This thing was, quarter-inch tape with quarter-track heads. I mean, just a bare minimum kind of thing. But, gosh, I could record on it, and I could edit. I could crash edit on it, and that turned out pretty good too. And so that was my first experience with being on the radio. I had a pirate radio station there. My mother worked at the airfield of West Palm Beach airfield, and she was secretary for 5 or 6 of the Air Force bigwigs there. And one of those, she would tell them about my exploits on my, bootleg radio and whatnot. And so one of the officers there said, "Hey, I've got something he might enjoy." And it turned out that he had a one-tube wonder. And this one-tube wonder, the tube was a 117L7. So the filaments were 117 volts. And he had made certain modifications to this one-tube wonder that made it a bigger wonder than what it was. I mean, this thing would really get out. And he told my mom, he said, "Now you should always, tell him to always have a good antenna on it, or it'll burn itself up, because it's kind of like a sports car. The more output it has to dissipate it, or it will burn itself up." So that set me up real good. I used that, and I had about a 300-foot long wire antenna. That was my answer to having a good antenna on it. This antenna strung from the pine tree about 300 feet away at about 75 feet down to the pump house, which was my broadcast studio. And everything went fine most of the time, except there was once a lightning storm went through there, and I didn't know it because I was inside the pump house doing my show. And this long wire antenna had the ability to, there was a lightning strike. It wasn't directly a hit on this long wire, but since this long wire was going through the air so long, it did pick up a lot of stray power from this close-by lightning hit, and it did come in on that antenna, and I had my earphones on, and the next thing I knew, man, I was picking myself up off the ground, trying to figure out what happened. This thing had so much energy had come through the long wire antenna into my transmitter through my earphones to ground through me, Roger.
Wow, that's not the first time I've heard that happen. I did a story a while back with a fellow that was sitting at his radio station too, and lightning struck and blew him right out of his chair, and I guess they thought they lost him there for a while. Man, that's kind of scary. So I see you've got a YouTube channel here. It has all kinds of, I don't know if they're actually videos or not. Are those videos, or is it just like a video screen with just audio behind it? And what is that for?
Those are air checks, recorded air checks. We have about 1,020 air checks on our Qso-Vlog page, Roger. There are different times, but if you play them, they'll be 7 minutes long. Some are hour and a half. Our main program we record for an hour and a half between 3:30 and 5 on Friday afternoons, Roger.
Oh, cool. So I could stand by and wait for you to post this one and listen to our YouTube channel, huh?
Roger, now, it usually takes me a couple of days to get things posted up on YouTube. And I say that because, it could. Usually I get them earlier than that, but at least, by saying 2 days, I have a little bit of grace period if I do have certain calamities that I have to take care of prior to being able to post them, take the time to post them up to YouTube, Roger.
Roger that. So this way people can talk to you, and then they can wait a while, a couple of days, and listen in to see how their audio quality works. And are you using SDR to record this?
No. Well, usually I'm running 4 internet SDRs simultaneous as I do the show. And for the past 3 months, I've been running 2 receivers and 4 internet SDRs. And the SDRs are receivers, and then just a way to get closer to our 100-watt friends, which are usually, pretty light as far as signal strength. So I'm usually monitoring Rochester, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Milford, PA, and Arlington, Virginia on the internet SDRs, Roger.
To compare, listening to WCWW. I go all over the country using SDR.hu and see how strong they're coming in all around the country. Right now, you'd be surprised to know how I'm recording this. I have a network radio. It's called an RC4. And on it, I'm using a voice application called Zello. I've got a channel in there that's listen only. When I just push the talk button on the screen on toggle, I'll turn it on, turn it off. If anyone in the room, they're listening to what we're saying here. And when we're done, I just untoggle it and upload or share that to my Zello account, which then I can share that link on my broadcast or any of my social media. So probably not the super high quality that I would normally get using my NXL mic and calling people up Skype. But it's something I've been playing around with and works pretty good.
Roger that. I wish I had a little bit better coffee on you. You're about maybe 5 dB above my noise. You wouldn't happen to have a kilowatt laying around, would you?
I wish I did. Sorry about that. Well, I know you're working more power because you're coming in solid the whole time. It's going to sound good on the podcast, and I will send you a link to this, and then you can hear how good you sound over here in northern Arkansas.
Great. Now, come back, Jimmy, with your call sign.
Yeah, again, the call sign is K5 Delta Charlie Charlie. K5DCC. If you look at my QSZ page, you can see what I'm doing.
Roger, Jimmy. K5DCC, Roger.
That's right. Then it stands for Digicom Cafe. And again, the name is Denny. Delta Echo November Yankee.
Oh, Denny. I thought you were saying Jimmy.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that when you're down on the noise levels, and it's kind of hard to pick things out. It's kind of like when I was listening to a call sign or two on working an AMSAT satellite today, and I was recording it too, and it got buried in a couple of other transmissions and static, and I couldn't quite pull the call sign out. But yeah, you get confused a lot with a lot of noise.
Roger, Denny. Well, I'll tell you what, I have been running this test air check, and not sure exactly how long it is now, but what I will do, I will break this part out separately. So when I post it up on YouTube, it'll say Denny K5DCC, and what should I call the sequence that we just did?
I would just call it a Radio on the Rock Cafe Cast. I'm here in the Digicom Cafe, which is my metaphor for amateur radio. And so because I'm in the cafe, wherever I am on radio, that's the cafe, I call it a Cafe Cast. In my blog, associated blog, again, it's called a blog cast where I embed the audio for this and share it with the world.
Roger. Now, I called mine a vlog, V-L-O-G, as opposed to V-L-O-G, Roger.
Roger that. Well, I was asked by a friend of mine to put up a blog, and I thought, man, I'm busy enough already just doing an audio podcast. But I thought, well, let's give it a try, and I've got this great platform called Mighty Network, digicomcafe.com, and I created a blog for every episode, and so I just put a link in there to the actual audio podcast and share links and biography information for whatever it is we talked about on our podcast. So you'll have to check us out, and I want to invite everybody else to join us there too. And I'm going to follow you, and we'll maybe do this again sometime properly on a professional system with my MXL microphone.
Oh well, gosh, I live and die by ham radio. I really do. I feel much more comfortable doing it this way. Roger.
That's not a problem. I'm starting to do more of this now too. So this was a good one to maybe help kick it off. So appreciate it so much, and I'll send you a link when I'm done. You can check it out. And meanwhile, keep it up. Are you always on this frequency, 7188?
Stay here pretty much. We do the Qso-Vlog on this frequency tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 till 5. Roger.
Roger that. Well, maybe I'll put a topic in our Digicom Cafe Mighty Network here for your radio story group, and I'll start sharing some of your posts and stuff, your blog.
Sounds great. Yeah, we just call this the Qso-Vlog network. This is the amateur radio side of my my YouTube operation there. The main thing, well, it used to be the main thing, was 50 years of commercial broadcasting, where we have, all kind. We have 570 some odd pieces of stuff on that. Regards air checks, documentaries, music. We recorded many full-length music concerts for network radio, and a lot of documentaries and stuff. So if you go to, there's two sides of this. The Jim Fergusson's radio story covers the commercial aspect of it, and the Qso-Vlog network is a portion of that. Roger?
Roger that. Well, I'll make sure I'll put links to this in the blogcast, and we'll share those blog checks from time to time, and maybe some of the folks in our group that are into HF will go down there and check you out here on 7188 and get a signal report and get to hear themselves. So thanks a lot for your time. There might be some other folks out there want to get their audio checked too. So we'll be in touch with you. I'll send you the link. 73, and thanks so much there. Appreciate it, Jim.
Roger. Denny, 3's that way, sir. You have a great evening and a great weekend coming up. If you get a chance, join us on our Qso-Vlog net tomorrow afternoon on 7188 between 3:30 and 5. So 3's for now. We'll catch you later. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor, Claire.
73, K5DCC, sir.
3's, buddy.